Revenge of the Sith and the Rise of Skywalker have tons of parallels and interesting connections, like how the latter is essentially a reverse order story of the former. Regardless of what you think of either of these movies, I think you'll find these pretty interesting. And please, remember these are just fun speculations. Let's respect each other's opinions here. Before we get into the thick of it here, be sure to like and subscribe for more Star Wars content. Alright, let's do this. Let us begin with how the Rise of Skywalker is pretty much Revenge of the Sith in reverse. Revenge of the Sith begins with Anakin Skywalker on the side of good at the tail end of the Clone Wars. By the third act of the film, he's fallen to the dark side, and by the very end, he's having his Darth Vader armor crafted for him, and we see him encased in the helmet. In the Rise of Skywalker, on the other hand, we begin with Kylo Ren as evil as he's been, cutting down people on Mustafar, and shortly after, his helmet is reconstructed, putting him behind the helmet once again. By the third act of the film, he ditches the helmet for good, and soon after becomes the good Ben Solo again. While we're on the topic of Ben Solo and Anakin, their romantic relationships are also reversed in these films. Yeah, I know, Kylo and Rey didn't exactly have a concrete relationship like Padme and Anakin, but bear with me. Anakin and Padme begin Revenge of the Sith with a great relationship, finding out they're expecting children and all. By the end of the film, their relationship is in tatters as Anakin ends up attacking Padme and breaking her heart. Kylo and Rey start Episode 9 as mortal enemies, and towards the end, Rey tells him that she would have taken Ben's hand, not Kylo's. Ben returns to the light and fights alongside the other half of his Force dyad, and their relationship ends with an embrace and a kiss. Not to mention Ben's sacrifice. More on that later. Remember I mentioned Mustafar earlier? Well, it does appear in both of these films, at the beginning of Tross and at the end of Revenge. In Tross, it's healed from its former fiery state, and in Revenge, it's the opposite, like the pits of hell. Now let's get to some more fascinating parallels between these films. An obvious one is the whole cheating death thing with Palpatine. In Revenge of the Sith, he says to Anakin, the dark side is a pathway to many abilities some consider to be unnatural.
The dark side of the Force is a pathway to many abilities some consider to be unnatural.
Well, guess what? He says the same exact thing to Kylo in The Rise of Skywalker, and he's apparently used that pathway to cheat death, to be where he is where we see him in Episode 9, in the depths of Exegol. Speaking of death, remember Palpatine saying he could teach Anakin the power of saving the one he loved from dying? Turns out that was an absolute crock, and it was a Jedi power all along, inside the ancient texts of the Jedi. Of course, the power could really only be involved with a rare Force dyad, which Kylo and Rey happened to be. Anakin wanted to save the one he loved from dying, which led him down the path of darkness. Ben Solo, on the other hand, sacrifices himself using this power to save the one he cared about in Rey. Execution and everything aside, that's a pretty cool parallel. Episode 3 involves an epic duel over the fire and flames of Mustafar, and Episode 9 has a duel over waves of crashing water. The first cements Anakin's fall to the dark side, and the latter ends with Ben Solo returning to the light. Revenge of the Sith has a Palpatine turning a Skywalker evil, and Tross uses a Palpatine to bring a Skywalker back to the good side. Lastly, the tragedy of Episode 3 ends on Tatooine with the twin suns setting on the now dead Jedi Order. Episode 9 ends on Tatooine, with those same suns rising on a new Jedi Order. Now, I'm sure there's more parallels on the two films, but these are just the major ones that I really enjoy. Once again, I want to remind everyone that we all of course have our own opinions, which should be respected. But come on, it's cool when Star Wars parallels itself. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. We'll be back with more Star Wars goodness soon. Be sure to like and subscribe, guys. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the Holonet.